The Red Recycling Man. Chrissy had many different flowers growing in her garden in many different glowing colors. One afternoon she was doing a Zen walk through her garden, enjoying all the wonderful plants, when she noticed a knobby type of red, shiny bud sprouting out of the ground. She had never seen a plant like this one before. What could it be? Where did the strange plant come from? Every day she checked on the red plant and sprinkled it with water from the hose. Every day the plant grew larger and larger. A week later it was as large as a pumpkin, but with a peculiar shape, as if it was morphing itself into a cubic foot of some sort. She told her friends, and one person reported that there had been a meteor shower about 10 days before she noticed the plant. Could the meteors have something to do with the growth of this strange plant? Another week later, the plant was as large as a couch, and one could clearly recognize some unusually shaped cubic figure, almost like a person, but really wide, with lots of rectangular protrusions. Chrissy took photos of the plant and posted them on Facebook. Other people had been posting photos of the same plant in different stages of growth. A week later, the figure had grown into what looked like a person with cubic, rectangular-shaped arms and legs, and the thing was as large as the front of a semi-truck. Glowing red, almost a bit translucent, rubbery looking, this figure began to slowly move. The next day the figure was gone, and the earth was loose and it looked all dug up. Journalists from all over the world reported that large red figures were running all over the place and people were missing. A week later they reported that entire prisons had been literally eaten away, not only the people inside of the prisons, but the buildings as well. Left over was dug up earth soil. Chrissy was scared, but she had no choice other than to go shopping for food. She had eaten all of her food reserves from the pantry. When Chrissy arrived at the supermarket, she saw with horror a couple of red figures walking briskly across the parking lot. They were running against people, and their skin material was absorbing the people and drawing them into their bodies. They even did that with a couple of cars with people inside of the cars. She watched a whole car being engulfed by the red material. They did not eat animals, and they did not eat Chrissy, who was standing there with an open mouth and wide open eyes, petrified from amazement. They were ignoring her completely. There was another person across the parking lot with a dog on a leash who was still standing there looking. She walked towards that other person, and together with the dog they walked into the store where they were witnessing more red figures engulfing people, and no blood was spilled at all. This process was clean and looked almost like a child playing with Play-Doh and squeezing little figures into the clay. The two people and the Great Dane took a shopping cart and loaded as much dog food and human food into it as they could find, and since no cashier was left over, they just left with the groceries and drove off. A week later, the landscape in the cities had completely changed their appearance. There were no more prisons standing, no more nuclear power plants, no more schools, no more slaughter facilities, no more old cars. The dug-up earth began growing new sprouts from the ground, including daisies and dandelion. Dairy cows were running loose through the area, grazing peacefully on the fresh grasses and flowers. Wild horses came to check out the other areas which they had avoided in the past. Dogs were checking out the cows and making friends with them. The red figures came to introduce themselves to Chrissy and her new dog, cow, horse, and human friends, whom she had met since the day at the grocery store. She touched one of the red figures, and it felt indeed like rubber material. She did not get absorbed by the material at all, and instead it felt really soft and wonderful. The figures did not have mouth or eyes, but they transferred their thoughts to them telepathically, and they told the remaining humans, "We came here in form of seeds on meteors in order to help. We heard a message way out there in space. It was a message from Professor Dr. Stephen Hawking, and he said that in only 100 years the Earth will no longer be inhabitable. So we decided that it was time to come and clean up your planet so that things can become balanced again."